I have meetings and calls all the time, and I want notes, but I also want to focus. And our sponsor, Plod, makes this so easy because the Plod Note Pro is this slim device. It attaches to your phone. It records crystal clear audio up to 16 feet away with 4 microphones. And it doesn't stop there. In the Plod app, everything is transcribed with labels showing who was speaking, summarized into highlights and action item lists. And you can also use the Ask Plod feature to pull out insights or even to draft follow-up emails from your meeting or call. Check out the Note Pro at davidpakman.com/plod or use the code Pakman for 10% off their other products, the Note or the Note Pin. The link is in the description. Welcome back from Thanksgiving, everybody. The administration is facing a major crisis at the top. Republicans and Democrats alike are expressing alarm over a report that suggests that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a follow-up strike to kill survivors in the water after an initial missile strike on a suspected Venezuelan drug boat led to some survivors in the water. Now, that may be a war crime, and Senator Tim Kaine and others are saying that it is. When Donald Trump was asked about it, he tried to distance himself, and I believe he's setting up Pete Hegseth to take the fall. Meanwhile, there are exploding concerns about Donald Trump's mental stability. These have reached a fever pitch. Many lawmakers are now demanding Donald Trump release the results of that MRI. Trump referring to Tim Walz as seriously retarded over the weekend and showing other signs of cognitive collapse. And the episode today also will touch on the financial disaster that this administration has been for many in Trump's base. I don't mean because of the tariffs. I mean the people that got scammed, conned, and grifted into investing into things like Trump's media and technology group, Trump Coin, Melania Coin, and others. So we have the full analysis today. It's great to be back. What a show. Let's do a show. It appears that the war crimes have begun in the Trump administration. Even Republicans are starting to notice. That is sort of the headline. It's deeply concerning. It's frankly unsurprising given the current administration. Nobody really fell for this is the president of peace. This is the president of no new conflicts, military deployments, etc. We are now talking about an escalating military offensive that Donald Trump has launched in the Caribbean and near Venezuela, supposedly targeting drug traffickers. Now, for months, there have been really serious questions about what is the legal justification for these boat strikes that Donald Trump is doing, strikes that have already killed more than 80 people since early September. But the conversation has now shifted from, is this legal in some technical sense, to, are these war crimes? And the catalyst for this shift is this jaw-dropping report from the Washington Post, which suggests that during one of these operations, there was an initial missile strike on a suspected drug boat. And then a follow-up strike was ordered to kill survivors who were in the water after the boat was struck. Now, you might say, well, why is this now a controversy? Well, the reporting is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, former Fox News host, now turned Secretary of Defense, according to the report, gave the order, kill everyone aboard and then go after those who are in the water. That is considered a war crime. You're not allowed to do that. Now, I know many of us say, the rules of war, isn't it by definition lawless? Well, many of us intuitively, morally, and ethically feel that even when war is being done, quote, legally, it's still an atrocity. But there are rules. And it appears that those rules were not followed. Now, Donald Trump was asked about this. Can you talk about the controversy? Trump's like, I don't know anything about it. I have a sense of what Donald Trump is up to here.
Can you talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around the Secretary of Defense? He said,
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
So you don't know if there was
The two men.
the second strike to kill the two men.
He
And I apologize for the bad audio. That is in the source. Trump saying, I know nothing about it. Hegseth said he didn't order that strike of the people in the water. Well, what if he did? And Trump goes, I don't believe he did it, so I don't have to think about that. Now, this might seem like Trump being clueless because he's so often clueless. I would not rule out that Donald Trump is starting to lay the groundwork here to blame Hegseth for war crimes and say, I knew nothing about that whatsoever. We have one more clip of Trump being asked about this on Air Force One just hours ago.
On the Venezuela boat strike, if there were a second strike that killed wounded people, even in the first strike, are you thinking that would be legal?
I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted that a second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine. And if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make you
I have great confidence.
You saying there's no second strike?
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it. But Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
So notice the technicality of language. Pete said he didn't order the strike becomes Pete said he didn't order the death of those people. And maybe before we know it, there was an order for a second strike, but it wasn't supposed to kill anyone. And the killing was simply an accident. I think you can see the way in which this is going to be propagandized. So this now gets us to an important moment, I believe, to pause and think about this. None of this is about self-defense. Like that, the idea that any of these strikes, the first or the second strike, were necessary for self-defense, that's not even being alleged. It's not even really about intercepting a cargo. This is an order to execute people. In the second strike, people who have been neutralized as a threat. Their boat's been destroyed and they're floating in the ocean. Now, what is significant here is that it is not only Democrats that are concerned about this. This has now triggered a level of bipartisan concern and maybe more importantly, oversight that we don't typically see from the Republican-led Congress when the president is also a Republican. We've got Congressman Mike Turner, Republican from Ohio, former chairman of the Intel Committee, said if that occurred, that would be very serious and it would be an illegal act. We know he knows we're talking about war crimes here. Now, on the Democratic side, there's many, but Senator Tim Kaine, Democratic senator from Virginia, he said, based on the reporting, this would be a war crime.
Well, first, if that reporting is true, it's a clear violation of the DOD's own laws of war, as well as international laws about the way you treat people who are in that circumstance. And so this rises to the level of a war crime if it's true. And the questions that we've been asking for months are, give us the evidence that the folks on board were really narco traffickers and
Yeah, and we're not going to get that evidence, that's for sure. Many others, including Senator Mark Kelly, saying this does appear to be a war crime. So we have something that's a little different from the normal partisan bickering here. When you see top Republicans joining Democrats, like Chairman Roger Wicker of the Senate Armed Services Committee, or Mike Rogers from the House Armed Services Committee, and they are saying we must employ vigorous oversight. We need a full accounting of what's going on. This is not just liberal media fantasy. This is even Republicans taking it seriously. I don't know that it's because they really care, but because the legal implications are massive. So what is the administration doing to respond to this? What are they doing to the possibility that they are now engaging in war crimes? Well, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the entire report, just the whole report from the Washington Post on which all of this controversy is based, is fabricated and inflammatory, which is a very Trumpian choice of words. But the critical detail is that Hegseth has not contradicted that a second strike occurred. And sometimes you sort of have to read between the lines or pay attention to what they aren't saying. He's defending the military's actions, saying these are designed to be lethal kinetic strikes. And that is a very calculated evasion. Lethal strikes are one thing. Executing survivors in the water is something else. And so Hegseth is trying to inject, almost like you would a cleaning with bleach, he's trying to inject plausible deniability to try to just obscure what appears to be a war crime. Trump, again, I wouldn't have wanted it, but Pete said he didn't do it. The core issue is our military accountable to the rule of law? And if American military officials acting on a verbal order executed survivors, which is what they are once they're in the water, you're no longer considered a combatant, okay? You're offshore, your boat's been destroyed, you're in the water. It's a war crime. Now, you might say, I don't feel empathy for drug smugglers. Well, first of all, they still haven't presented any evidence that they are drug smugglers. But you're okay with the military being used, not in the interests of defense, not even in the interests of intercepting the cargo, but after the boat has been destroyed, just in killing survivors. You're okay with that? And I would be shocked if even many of the right-wingers in my audience would be okay with that. So we're going to continue to track this story. The House and Senate committees are going to start investigating. But when Republicans and Democrats start talking about illegal and even whispering about the word war crime, you know that we're on a sort of legal precipice here. And saying we are protecting the U.S. by being proactive is seeming a lot like criminality in this particular case. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is Trump getting set up to pass the blame to Hegseth if the war crimes are indeed confirmed? All right, we have another tragedy that we have to talk about, which points once again to the incompetence of this administration. Remember how Donald Trump was going to keep everybody safe with so-called extreme vetting of people that are coming here from other countries? Well, it turns out that the Trump administration approved the asylum request of the man who over Thanksgiving shot and killed a member of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. So let me give you the backstory, okay? Right before Thanksgiving, at the Farragut West Metro Station in downtown Washington, D.C., 2 blocks from the White House, 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot in what is being described as an ambush-style attack. The 2 people are Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, who died succumbing to her injuries, and Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, who at last check remains in critical condition. I hope I have that information up to date. The alleged shooter has been identified as a 29-year-old Afghan national who is here with a confirmed asylum request, Ramanullah Lakanwal. Now, Lakanwal was admitted to the United States in 2021 as part of Operation Allies Welcome. That's a program which assisted Afghans who worked with the U.S., including the CIA, when the U.S. was in Afghanistan, in being able to get legal status in the United States. He was also shot during the altercation and taken to the hospital. Now, here is the controversy that is developing. On the one hand, you've got Republicans blaming Joe Biden. Why? The initial entry took place in September of 2021. Joe Biden was president there. There was humanitarian parole, like I said, for Afghans who aided the American effort, including CIA-backed units. That status that Lakanwal was given was temporary while Biden was president. In 2024, he filed for asylum. And he said, I'm afraid of being prosecuted by the Taliban. If I go back to Afghanistan, now that the U.S. is out, they will know I worked with the CIA. It's going to be very bad for me. And in April of 2025, when Donald Trump was president, just 8 months ago, the asylum status was granted. The asylum application was approved by the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services Bureau under the Trump administration. Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, went on TV. She was interviewed by ABC News' Kristen Welker, asked about the fact that it was indeed the Trump administration that confirmed his status. Here's what she had to say. It may not surprise you that she didn't exactly do a mea culpa.
I want to be very clear about this because his asylum was approved in April of this year on the Trump administration's watch. So just to be very clear, was there a vetting process in place to approve that asylum request?
Yeah, the vetting process all happened under Joe Biden's administration.
But was he vetted when he was granted asylum? Are you saying he wasn't vetted when he was granted asylum?
Vetting is happening when they come into the country, and that was completely abandoned under Joe Biden's administration. That's the irresponsibility that has completely devastated our.
Now, I want to get to we're going to get to another part of this, but she's also lying here. You aren't vetted for asylum when you first come into the country if you haven't asked for asylum. Lakanwal came in under a compassionate, I don't exactly know what it's called, but it was a program to bring people who worked with the United States and Afghanistan in. The request for asylum was not made until 2024. And a lot of that time period during which that was being evaluated, Trump was president. So she's lying. You don't evaluate for asylum before someone's asked for asylum.
Country, Kristen, put us in such a dangerous position. I don't think people realized when Joe Biden was in the White House exactly how he was allowing our country to be infiltrated with people that we didn't know who they were. Some of them we did know were dangerous, and we went after as soon as they came into this country. But under this program, we could have up to 100,000 people that came in.
So she's blaming Biden. Now, the truth is that the Trump administration approved him for asylum in April of this year, and that a whole bunch of that vetting process took place while Donald Trump was president. Now, Trump is in full damage control mode. He put out a Truth Social post which says, crooked Joe Biden, Mayorkas, and so-called border czar Kamala Harris really screwed our country by letting anyone and everyone come in totally unchecked and unvetted. But we have to, so there's two things here. Number one, if you believe that the Biden vetting was so poor, even if it's true that the vetting took place while Biden was president, which it didn't, wouldn't you say, let's do our own vetting because Biden wasn't vetting anybody and we do extreme vetting? You're basically saying, well, Biden did it wrong, but we'll just approve the asylum claim anyway. That's a disservice if those prior premises are true. We also have to acknowledge something else, which is that these members of the National Guard should have been at home. They should have been in West Virginia for Thanksgiving. Only because of Donald Trump's absurd scheme in which he has National Guard deployed all over the place, including Washington, D.C., were they there around Thanksgiving in the first place. Now, to be clear, the shooter did this. That is the person responsible. But we can't ignore, why are they even out there? But why? A little more of the insanity with Kristi Noem, again saying, no, the information was gathered while Biden was president.
And you said that he was radicalized here in the United States. He was admitted to this country by the Biden administration. That's 100% correct, 2021. But he was granted asylum by the Trump administration in April. So did you see any red flags?
If you remember, John.
Yeah, did you see any red flags?
John, all the information that was gathered on that vetting process was gathered under the Biden administration. His asylum claim application started under the Biden administration. That information was provided by them, and the responsibility lies with them. And
all right, so you get it. They're basically saying, not our problem, but you approved based on information you knew was terrible. You have been criticizing for years that the Biden administration won't vet anybody correctly, that the Obama administration before Trump's first term, they're not vetting anybody correctly. And then you go, well, here's the vetting they did. Sounds good. We're not going to do any more. Give me a break. If you believe that Joe Biden's vetting was so terrible and you do extreme vetting to keep everybody safe, why did you simply take the Biden administration's word on vetting? It makes no sense. They are desperate. They are panicked. And a terrible weekend for this administration. Not only the war crimes, but potentially exposing that their extreme vetting program may not even really exist. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Make sure to like and share the video. Great to be back after the long weekend. If you have calls or meetings for work like I do all the time, or you're taking notes for classes or creative projects, you know it's really easy to miss important points. Check out this tool that will really revolutionize how you take notes. It's the Plod Note Pro. It's a thin credit card-sized device, attaches to your phone, captures crystal clear audio with 4 studio-grade microphones, and up to 50 hours of nonstop recording, even when multiple people are talking. But Plod will go way beyond just the recording, because then you've got the app. It'll label who's speaking. It can transcribe in 112 languages. It'll deliver structured summaries with highlights and to-do lists generated from the conversation. And they also have this Ask Plod feature where you can actually search conversations or draft follow-up emails or brainstorm ideas, really like having a second brain. Now, unlike recording on your phone, you don't have to worry about your battery running out. No interruptions. Your data just stays safe with end-to-end encryption. I've been testing Plod myself. It makes meetings way easier. I don't worry about missing anything. So go to davidpakman.com/plod, check out the Note Pro, or use the code Pakman for a great discount on their other products, the Note or the Note Pin. The link is in the description. We all know food is central to the holidays, so having good olive oil is crucial. Our sponsor, Graza Olive Oil, has been my go-to for years, which is why I reached out to them about becoming a sponsor. It's always fresh, never blended. The olives are always picked, pressed, and bottled in the same season from the same source in Jaén, Spain. You can even see the harvest date on the bottle. Graza makes 3 high-quality oils for everything you're cooking this time of year. Sizzle for everyday cooking, roasting, and sautéing. Drizzle as a bright, punchy finishing oil for salads, bread, pasta, anything that needs a lift. And Frizzle is their high-heat oil for baking, grilling, and frying. Graza oils taste clean, vibrant, super fresh. I love the bottles. They look great in my kitchen. And Graza's gift sets make an easy and perfect holiday gift. People actually use this, and the packaging is really nice. Go to graza.co/DavidP and use code DavidP to get 10% off. The link is in the description. The David Pakman Show is primarily an audience-supported program. That means we depend on your support to do what we do. People who sign up and get a membership at joinpakman.com not only are supporting the show, but also get extra content every day, including the bonus show and the commercial-free audio and video streams of the show. Really appreciate everybody who signed up over the last month. I've also gotten a lot of messages from people saying, hey, listen, it's not you, it's me. The economic situation, the financial situation, I've got to start cutting. And I respect that and I sympathize with that. And it's potentially an unfortunate sign about the direction of this economy. We really only need 1.5% of our audience to support us directly to be completely independent. So I invite you to sign up at joinpakman.com and/or get yourself a Substack premium subscription at substack.davidpakman.com. All right, listen, it has gone completely mainstream. Donald Trump is unraveling. We are watching it happen in real time. Republicans are noticing it. Right-wingers are noticing it. Apolitical people are noticing it. Let me kind of walk you through it. Donald Trump had a long weekend holiday public meltdown. We start with a media event at Mar-a-Lago where a reporter asked Trump, why did you blame Biden for an Afghan shooting suspect when it was your administration that granted him asylum? That's correct. That answer includes accurate premises. And Donald Trump didn't like it. And he goes, are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?
Hello, good to see you. Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
A question about this tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. U.S. officials say that the suspect worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let them in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And
3 times, stupid person. The fury and rage of Trump when anyone dares say, but wait a second, sir, Mr. President, some of the things you're telling us don't make any sense. So this was the start of the weekend spiral. Then the personal attacks followed, where Donald Trump called the sitting governor, and I quote here, I apologize, this is not language I use, but Trump called the sitting governor, Tim Walz, seriously retarded. That's the president of the United States. And of course, he also recycled conspiracies about immigrants marrying siblings and this sort of thing. This was on Truth Social, where Trump said, quote, and this is a lot. I apologize. It's a lot. A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. Now, none of that is true. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. The real migrant population is much higher. The refugee burden is the leading cause of social dysfunction in America, something that did not exist after World War II. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey, as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congressman/woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came into the USA illegally in that you were not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she is treated. Trump then continues with another, and this one really raising eyebrows. Any document signed by sleepy Joe Biden with the auto pen, which was approximately 92% of them, is hereby terminated and of no force or effect. The auto pen is not allowed to be used if approval is not specifically given by the President of the United States. The radical left lunatics circling Biden around the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office took the presidency away from him. I am hereby canceling all executive orders and anything else that was not directly signed by Joe Biden. Illegal auto pen, blah, blah, blah. Trump seems to think that if he, as the president, puts out a social media message where he says, I hereby do something, that it just kind of happens. Of course, none of it happens. This is absurd. We could go into in detail how the auto pen is used routinely. Donald Trump uses the auto pen. We found out it appeared Donald Trump used the auto pen for pardons, which shouldn't validate them by Trump's own standard applied to Biden, but they don't care. That's not really the big story here. We knew all of that. The big story is that this is not a mere tantrum or a pattern. This is something that is now being noticed by mental health professionals who believe that we are in the middle of a cognitive collapse. John Gartner, former guest on this show, clinical psychologist, has studied Trump's behavior closely, says this is dementia. Gartner is saying this is dementia, period. And that it's dementia combined with a toxic personality disorder that is beyond repair. And he looks at Trump's confusion, his memory lapses, his word mix-ups, his tangents, his rambling speech, the physical signs, the widening gait, the droopy face, the slowed motor coordination, reduced vocabulary, all of it. And Dr. Gartner is now saying that this is gross decline. He says, as this deepens, the underlying personality traits, which for Trump are delusions of grandeur, paranoia, narcissism, they get a lot worse. They get amplified. And Gartner compares it to what you see in the final years of dictators in history. Erratic behavior, impulsivity, loss of inhibitions, unpredictable decisions. Now, at the same time, there's another doctor, Vin Gupta, who we're going to try to get on the show. He's a physician and public health expert. He is saying the implausible insistence of this White House that Trump is in perfect health, yet Trump doesn't know why he had an MRI, is complete and utter nonsense. It does not comport with reality. And Gupta pointed to signs from Trump in recent appearances: slow reactions, confusion when asked simple questions, occasional incoherence, fatigue, lack of physical endurance. Vin Gupta's view is something is happening here. So this is becoming way beyond speculation. We have trained, credentialed experts in various fields saying the president seems to be breaking down. Now, if you are a working taxpayer, as are most of the people in my audience, what does it mean that this is who is in charge of the most powerful military, one of the most powerful nuclear arsenals, and one of the most powerful economic engines in the world. And he seems to be non-compos mentis. What does it mean? It means most likely that we can't treat the outbursts like yet another political scandal. It can't be Trump being Trump. It has to be about capacity, control, and competence. And Trump's control looks shakier than ever. The wild insults, the conspiracies, all of it. So we have to prevent it from being politics as usual. That's the thing. The president is unraveling. We must share videos that are talking about this. And the question that we should be all asking isn't, is this bad? This is a disaster. I don't believe we have ever seen anything like this. We need to be preparing for how bad could it get. And is J.D. Vance aware of what's going on, waiting in the wings? That's another one that is floating from inside of MAGA world. Disturbing images of President Donald Trump from the long weekend raised questions of whether Donald Trump is rotting from the inside out or the outside in. And yet we are told that this is the healthiest president ever, even though he again restated he has no idea why he got an MRI or what they were looking at. We're going to look at that later. As you can see, pictures of Donald Trump from the weekend, alongside, by the way, with a picture of Joe Biden taken on the same day. I hate to be morbid or crass or insensitive or whatever, but look at these images. We know that Joe Biden has stage 4 metastasized prostate cancer and is on treatments that make you tired and that can affect you in a number of ways. And yet Trump is the one that looks terrible here. Now understand that people around Trump are seeing this, and they have now entered damage control mode. When you are explaining and defending, you are losing. And I want to give you one example of that. They have this doctor, Nicole Safier, who has a show on iHeartRadio and is a big Trump booster, also a contributor on Fox News. She tweeted just out of the blue, suddenly, as this picture of Trump comes out looking more unwell than ever, quote, "The Trump cognitive decline story collapses the moment you actually sit across from him. I have. The man fires off details and statistics without hesitation. I'd love to see some of his critics try to keep up. You may not like what he does, but he is coherent." Listen, Nicole Safier is right about one thing. Trump, in any conversation, fires off details and statistics with no hesitation. The problem is a lot of them are made up, and anybody can just start firing off statistics. The question is, do they describe reality accurately, or do they describe a world that exists only in the mind of Donald Trump? And with Donald Trump, they do not describe reality. So if we zoom out a little bit, we're seeing a few things here. After the break, we're going to delve into the whole MRI thing. Number one, Trump's public physical appearance and behavior is deteriorating. Number two, Donald Trump's speech abilities are deteriorating faster than we sometimes notice. I mean, go back and look at video from Trump from even 9 months ago, and you will see that he is even further deteriorated. But maybe the most notable change here is that you are now starting to hear from right-wingers who just for no reason, just for kicks, are choosing to mention Trump's brain is fine. Nothing to worry about here. No cognitive decline. If they were not worried about it, they would simply be ignoring it. So we have entered the active denial phase, and we still don't know, why did he get an MRI? What body part did they hit? We'll find out hopefully soon, but we'll talk about it after the break. A pending Supreme Court case could strip our Fourth Amendment rights and allow immigration agents to come into our homes for any reason, no probable cause needed, all while Republicans try to twist things so that you think this is all great for America. This should be the biggest story in the U.S. right now, but it's almost impossible to keep up with the millions of moves that Trump is making every single day. That's why Ground News exists. Ground News is an app and website that exposes the blind spots and spin before it takes control of our opinions. Ground News is the smarter, more reliable way to stay informed when MAGA is banking on us getting distracted. I'm partnering up with Ground News to give you 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use. So you'll pay only $5 a month for all of their premium features. Just go to ground.news/Pakman or use the code Pakman in the app when you sign up. The link is in the description or scan the QR code. A lot of people think identity theft is something that only happens when someone hacks into your account, but the truth is that it usually starts with your personal information being posted online by data brokers where anybody can find it. Our sponsor, Incogni, is a service that helps protect your privacy by forcing the data brokers to delete your information. This includes your name, address, phone number, even sensitive things like property records or your political affiliation. And now with their custom removals feature included in the unlimited plan, you're not limited to just the list of 250 plus brokers they work with by default. If you find any site exposing any of your private information, even one they've never seen before, you can send a link and Incogni's team will work to get that removed. This is serious protection for you and your family against identity theft, against fraud, doxing, harassment, and Incogni's data removal process is the only one independently verified by Deloitte. Get 60% off an annual plan when you visit incogni.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. The link is in the description. We need Donald Trump's MRI results, and we need them right now. I've already outlined earlier in today's show how Donald Trump's public behavior is increasingly erratic, his physical deterioration, his vocabulary and linguistic deterioration are impossible to ignore. They are unable to give us an explanation as to exactly what is going on with Donald Trump. And finally, elected officials are starting to call for the MRI results. Now, remember, the MRI that Donald Trump received just months ago wasn't on the medical report from that visit. We found out only because Trump said, yeah, they gave me an MRI. Now, we have spent months asking, why were you given an MRI? What part of your body was scanned? What were the doctors looking for? What were the results? And we get nothing from Trump other than it was awesome. It was just doctors were shocked by how awesome it was. But I don't know what they looked at. I don't know what they were looking for. I don't know what part of my body, but it was the best MRI result anyone has ever seen. Well, now Governor Tim Walz is finally calling for the MRI results to be released. First of all, tweeting over the weekend, release the MRI results in response to Donald Trump's post referring to Walz as seriously retarded, and then following up here in a video interview.
Oh, Governor, let me have you weigh in on this, because part of your initial response to President Trump's post was to call for him to release the results of his MRI. And I want to give you a chance to give our viewers exactly a sense of what you mean. What exactly were you suggesting by that, Governor?
Well, here we got a guy on Thanksgiving where we spent time with our families, we ate, we played Yahtzee, we cheered for football or whatever. This guy is apparently in a room ranting about everything else. This is not normal behavior. It is not healthy. And presidents throughout time have released a couple things. They've released their tax returns, not Donald Trump, and they've released their medical records, not Donald Trump. And look, the MRI is one thing, but I think what's most concerning about this is, as your viewers out there are listening, has anyone in the history of the world ever have an MRI assigned to them and have no idea what it was for, as he says? So look, it's clear the president's fading physically. I think the mental capacity, again, ranting, crazily at midnight on Thanksgiving about everything else, there's reasons for us to be concerned. This is a guy that randomly says the airspace over Venezuela is closed. He's ruminating on if you could win a nuclear war. Look, this is a serious position. It's the most powerful position in the world.
So Tim Walz is right. This isn't, we need the results. The public has a right to know if the leader is having some kind of cognitive or other health issue that will impair judgment. Trump's recent behavior suggests he's impaired. Slurs, conspiratorial rants, erratic statements, raising real concerns about mental stability. And the medical scan that Trump received and claims not to even know what it was for is part of the problem. Now, Trump suddenly says, listen, if people want the MRI, we'll give it to them. He was again asked, what part of your body did they look at? Trump goes, I have no idea.
They asked about my MRI. MRIs are very...
Governor Walz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Walz, you mean the incompetent governor? So if they want to release it, it's okay with me to release it. It's perfect.
What was the reason they were
It's like my phone call where I got impeached. It's absolutely perfect. So if you want to hear about it or if you want to release it, you want to have it released.
Yes,
News Nation, failing News Nation. News Nation is doing lousy, by the way. But if you want to have it released, I'll release it.
Can you tell us what they were looking at?
For what, releasing?
No. What part of your body was the MRI looking
I
at?
have no idea. It was just an MRI.
I have no idea what part of my body they were looking at. Sir, were your feet in the machine or was your head in it? Come on.
The body. It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing.
Look at that. That last line, which is a throwaway, it's another little insult. It definitely wasn't my brain because I aced a cognitive test, which you would never be able to do, he says to the reporter. Now, everybody in my audience, okay, think through the following questions. There may be people in the audience who are 14. There may be people in the audience who are 24. I know there's 84-year-olds in the audience, okay? I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Have you ever had an MRI? Is there anyone in my audience who isn't sure? Okay, I would be shocked. Second question, why did you have an MRI? Is there anyone in my audience that doesn't know the answer to that? Whether you're 14 or 34 or 84, do you know you got an MRI but have no idea why you got it? Of course not. As I said before, I've had 2 MRIs. When I was a kid, I once got up in the middle of the night too fast, fainted. It's called a vasovagal episode. Went to a neurologist and he said, sir, let's give you a brain MRI. We want to make sure this isn't seizure related. So I got an MRI. In my adult life, I had a click, click, click in my right knee. I went to the orthopedist. He did a little manipulation of my knee and he said, we got to get an MRI of the knee. We did an MRI, unlike the first one where my head was in it, my legs were in it. And we determined I had a sort of small birth deformity in my meniscus called discoid meniscus. Didn't need surgery unless it causes me pain. Boom. One of these was 30 years ago. One of these was 10, 15 years ago. How does anyone have no idea why they got an MRI or what body part it was for? So we do need the MRI results, but just as concerning is the fact that Donald Trump doesn't seem to know why he got it. This is not about partisan politics. This is about competence, safety, and leadership. If Joe Biden had ever said anything like this, and even after months, nobody said to him, now there's one other possibility, which is he's just lying. And then that would also raise a major red flag. Trump may know what they were looking at. Imagine this is not the case, but imagine that they suspected Trump had been having small strokes and they gave him a brain MRI. And Trump knows that, but he's not telling us. That's almost as bad or worse than him having no idea. So I welcome the MAGAs making endless demands and claims about Joe Biden during the last presidential term to join me. And in an instance of bipartisanship, to unite the country for the good of the country, to say we need the MRI results, which Donald Trump now claims he's going to release. All right, an addled and confused Trump made a number of important policy statements and declarations on Air Force One, and I want to go through some of these. Now, the first one we played at the top of the show, I'm going to play it again because it's part of this outrageous press junket and gaggle, I guess better said. And Trump, again, seemingly setting himself up to blame Pete Hegseth for war crimes, says he doesn't know anything about the supposed second strike on waterborne survivors of the boat bombings off the coast of Central and South America.
Can you talk a little bit about the strikes and the controversy around Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth?
I don't know anything about it. He said he did not say that, and I believe him.
So you don't know if there was
You
a
never read
second,
the two men?
the second strike to kill the two men?
He said he didn't do it. He said he
He doesn't know. He's just not sure. He doesn't even have to evaluate it because it's just not anything that happened. And again, as I said earlier, this might seem like Trump being clueless, but to me, it strikes me more as Trump laying the groundwork to say, I didn't commit the war crimes. It was only Pete Hegseth. Trump then struggling mathematically, talking about prices coming down 500%, 600%, still struggling with that very basic arithmetic. I wish reporters would call him on the math of it.
You know, one of the reasons that healthcare can work is because of what I just did with favored nations. You're going to have drug prices coming down 500, 600, 700% because of me. In other words, we're going to have the lowest drug prices, tied for the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. It's called favored nations, and you don't talk about it. It's probably the biggest thing to happen in medicine in the last 100 years.
Well, nobody seems to understand the math of it. And I wish a reporter would say, sir, if you discount something 100%, it now costs zero. What do you mean you're going to discount it 500%, 600%? Sometimes he's even gone as high as 1,000%. I wish a reporter would ask and get him to do the arithmetic right in front of you. Trump asked about referring to Governor Tim Walz as seriously retarded. And he goes, oh, I completely stand by that. Yeah.
Talk a guy in that same post you mentioned Tim Walz, and you call him what many Americans do find offensive or retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Walz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely true.
Because you don't need
You
to.
have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with it. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into a state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Walz.
There you go. Tim Walz says we need Trump's MRI. Trump says Walz is seriously retarded, and there is something very, very wrong with him. Critically important question. Trump has been making a big deal out of how these bombings of boats off the coast of Venezuela and the Caribbean, etc., are to keep drugs out of the United States. Trump has insisted one of the most important priorities of this second term, keep the drugs out of the United States. Except Trump has pardoned multiple notorious drug traffickers. Oh, wait a second. Is Trump serious about keeping drugs out, or is everything he's doing actually for some other reason? Trump is asked about the fact that he pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, and Trump goes, who? Oh, that was a Biden con job.
It's so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Can you explain more about why you can pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan Orlando Hernandez.
Well, I was told, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people in Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. I don't mean Biden, but Biden didn't do it a lot. But it was the people that surround him.
And I know that it can be hard to hear with the background noise. Trump is saying, well, I was told that was a Biden setup. That's why I did the pardon. And Trump's now going to be asked, what evidence do you have that it was a setup? And Trump doesn't have any.
The resident desk surrounded Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agree with them.
What evidence did you share that he was set up and that he wasn't?
When you take a look, I mean, they could say that you take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life.
President, can I just clarify too with the U.S.?
That includes this country, okay? To be honest, I mean, if somebody does something wrong, you put the president of the country in jail. They said it was a Biden setup. It was a Biden administration setup. And you have a big race going on this.
So listen, first priority is stopping drugs, supposedly. Second priority is undoing any Biden setups. And that supersedes the importance of keeping drug dealers and traffickers in prison. This guy's brain is mush, and he doesn't seem to understand even the first thing about the questions he's being asked. But there is something, you know, when people start declining cognitively, in my experience, and based on the doctors we've spoken to, there is an underlying essence of their personality that it remains there. You know, with some people, it's as they get deep into cognitive decline, their love for music and sometimes ability to play an instrument remains. It's sort of like so core to their essence. With Donald Trump, even though he doesn't know who he's pardoning, or he does, but he's lying, and he doesn't know why he got an MRI or whatever, the most important thing is the media should accept whatever he says as true, not question it. And as an authoritarian wannabe, he should be allowed to do whatever he wants without anybody putting up any kind of roadblock or even questioning him. The essence of Trump, even as he becomes more and more addled and incoherent, is the authoritarianism. I should get to do whatever I want. There should be no consequences, and no one should be able to stop me. One of my close friends has a cat that I actually really like. I take a lot of heat for not being a cat guy, but this particular cat I really like. But this cat is a very picky cat when it comes to mealtime. I will admit, turns up her nose to a lot of the store-bought stuff. Then my friend tried our sponsor, Smalls, and the problem was gone. They even did a little test, old food in one bowl, Smalls in the other. The cat went right for the Smalls. No hesitation, no delay. The first time that she saw her cat get excited about mealtime in a long time, which this cat is picky, folks. This cat is picky. This is because Smalls is real food for cats. It's protein-packed recipes, real ingredients you would actually recognize from your own fridge. No preservatives, no artificial fillers, nothing mysterious, just fresh premium meals for cats delivered right to your door on whatever schedule makes sense for you. That is why Cats.com has named Smalls the best overall cat food. Forbes happens to agree. Give your cat the food they deserve. For a limited time, get 60% off your first order, plus free shipping when you go to smalls.com/Pakman. The link is in the description. I love our partnership with Wild Alaskan Company. They do sustainable seafood memberships and bring high-quality, wild-caught Alaskan seafood right to your door. Every fillet you get is 100% wild, never farmed, sourced from well-managed fisheries in Alaska. You get better flavor and texture, but you're also helping to preserve these ecosystems. They freeze everything at the peak of freshness. It gets to you vacuum sealed. I got a box that had everything from crab, fish fillets, scallops, salmon burgers, which were absolutely delicious. So elevate your meals, support sustainable fishing, and enjoy seafood the way it should be. Go to wildalaskan.com/Pakman. Use code Pakman for $35 off your first box. The link is in the description. Is Donald Trump coming for my American citizenship? Yes, he is back on the horse, saying he might be going after the citizenships of naturalized American citizens like me. Remember that I was born in Argentina, came to the United States, and obtained citizenship when I was a teenager and a legal minor in the United States. So the headline here is one of those classic Trump moves that uses terrifying, legally shaky rhetoric to fire up his base, to go after people and find scapegoats. And so the question as we look at this video isn't just, is Trump going to take away my citizenship, David's citizenship? The question is, what is the legal and constitutional price that this country would pay if Donald Trump tried to take my citizenship? Now, there's a lot of people writing to me worried, and I really appreciate that. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. Here was Trump asked about it and what he said.
Mr. President, you said that you might denaturalize some American citizens. Can you talk about
People that are in here that shouldn't be here?
that became Americans? Are you
Well,
trying
we'll
to
see. I mean, yeah, we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized maybe through a fight with somebody that didn't know what they were doing. If I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, but if I do, I would denaturalize them. You have a question here?
What do you mean by reverse migration?
It means get people out that are in our country, get them out of here. I want to get them out. We got a lot of people in our country that shouldn't be here, and they came in through Biden, and he was the worst president in the history of our country. But the single biggest thing he did was allow millions of people into our country that shouldn't be here. Drug dealers, prisons were opened up and allowed to come into our country.
All right, so listen, a lot of what he's saying obviously doesn't apply to me. I didn't come in when Biden was president. I didn't commit any fraud. I didn't come from, as Trump calls them, mental institutions or whatever. I appreciate everybody who's been writing to me about this. I'm not worried, to be perfectly frank. And also, if Trump did try to denaturalize me, can you imagine the publicity I'd get? I mean, I hate to write it off in that way, because there are a lot of people who, if the president tried to do that, it would be the worst possible thing you could imagine for them and their livelihood. If Trump started proceedings to take away my citizenship, I can't even tell you the publicity that I would get. Now, let's look at the claim and the process here, because we have data about denaturalization, and you should know denaturalization, sometimes it's called remigration, which is like to send people back from where they came. This is like a far, far right thing. It's extreme right-wing insanity. Trump's claim is very simple. He's going to go after naturalized citizens, naturalized under the previous administration, claiming they might be criminals, they might have committed fraud in some paperwork that they did in order to obtain legal status. Now, the scariest part of all of this is that Trump seems to think he can snap his fingers and start proceedings to take away your citizenship. If you go and you look at the law, you realize that that's just not true. Once you have American citizenship, it really is like a gold standard of legal status. Whether you were born in the United States or, like me, you were born elsewhere and then you become a citizen, everybody is a citizen, period. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly said you can't lose it because the president doesn't like you. You can't lose it because you committed a crime after becoming a citizen. You just can't. And to strip citizenship or to denaturalize people, the government has to go to federal court and they have to meet a standard that is insanely difficult to hit. They have one real shot. If the government can prove you explicitly lied or you hid a crucial fact when you applied for citizenship, like if you said, I didn't have a murder conviction in my home country, and you did, that would be the sort of thing that we are talking about. If you get your citizenship and then later you commit a crime or you do something politically unsavory or you commit some kind of white collar crime or whatever, none of that is grounds to take someone's citizenship. You can go to jail, but you get to keep your citizenship. Now, the legal battle is a very difficult one for the government to win, thanks to decades of legal precedent. The real danger is the chilling effect, because when the president starts talking about, we're going to take citizenship, you better behave the right way. You'd better say the right things. What are the political allegiances that might get you on the radar of someone like Trump? But I want to again say, don't let the noise override the reality. From 1990 to 2017, okay, listen to these numbers. From 1990 to 2017, an average of 11 denaturalization cases per year were filed. 11, okay? They were reserved for high-level fraud, war criminals who lied about their past and made it into the United States, terrorists who lied about their pasts and made it into the United States. The first Trump administration, from 17 to 21, the number of cases did go up significantly to about 25 a year. So it more than doubled, but it's a country of 340 million people. And so the big picture is that even with this expanded focus on this stuff and trying to target people in all of this, it is such a high standard to be met that we're talking about a couple dozen cases. And then I'm going to make another additional sort of disclaimer. Even if Trump had people listening to him when he goes, oh, take this person's and take that person's and this Canadian professor, we got to strip them, take Pakman citizenship. Even if Trump did that, and even if the DOJ was willing to open cases, these cases are so difficult to prove that handling any number of these cases at scale, even if they wanted to, even if they were willing to take direction from Trump to do it, would be very, very difficult. Now, just as another side note, this entire like what you put on your paperwork thing, forget for a moment that I was naturalized in the 90s, like put that aside for a second. But I was a minor, so there is no paperwork. There was no paperwork for me to fill out because I was naturalized as a minor under my parents. So I appreciate the concern. I think I'm going to be okay. But if not, Trust me, you're going to know it. All right, listen, I warned you time and time again. We looked at the numbers. We looked at the financials of some of the so-called investment opportunities that the Trump family was offering people. We looked at the crypto tokens, Trump coin and Melania coin. And I warned you, this is not an investment thesis that they are putting forward. They are saying, here's a cult of personality you can throw money at. And here we are now, December of 2025, about 10 months into the new administration. And the market, the beautiful free market that they love, has delivered its verdict, which is that the results of investing in Trump's various schemes and scams aren't just bad. They are financially disastrous for the people who thought, oh, I'm going to invest in the Trump Media and Technology Group stock, or I'm going to invest in Melania coin to support the president and to get rich doing it. A report from the Wall Street Journal lays it out. It is a bloodbath. Shares of Trump Media and Technology Group have crashed 75% since Inauguration Day. If you put 10K into the stock, you would now have $2,500. But you know what? That's a $7,500 loss that you can write off. The meme coins are even worse. The Melania coin is down 99%. It vaporized. It's like when you pour water on cotton candy and it's gone. Why did it happen? Well, depends who you ask. I believe the greater fool's theory is the best explanation. The greater fool's theory argues that you can buy, I hesitate to even call them assets. You can buy a thing not because of its intrinsic value, not because the company makes money, not because there's a good product or service. You can buy a thing because you're convinced I will later be able to sell it to a bigger fool than I am. And the entire Trump financial ecosystem, the DJT stock, the World Liberty Financial Crypto, it's all greater fool stuff. There are people that made money on it. Believe me, the people that got in really early on Trump coin and Melania coin, it pumped and then they dumped. Hold on, do I have it? Massive, massive dumps.
Big, massive dumps.
Exactly. They made a lot of money, but the greater fools were left holding the bag. If you look at some of the underlying data, this would become pretty apparent. For example, DJT, which is the stock ticker for Trump's Media and Financial Group, it trades at 1,240 times annual revenue. Think about that. You might have high growth companies trading at 30 times earnings, and Trump's trading at 1,240 multiple on revenue, not even on earnings or value. It's just like a shared delusion. Who was buying it? Like I said, the people that got in early and dumped and made money. And then all of the MAGA faithful that they were counting on, the early people were counting on to push the price up so that they could dump. There's this revolving door. It's like a conveyor belt of greater fools. And when the supply runs out, the supply of fools, that is, the bubble bursts. And so people were left holding the asset, Trump's loyal base. And it is such a profound irony that it is almost painful, because we were told Trump's return is going to usher in this era of economic freedom and financial support of these assets. And it's mostly been just, what can we do to enrich our own family? When you zoom out and say, what's he done for the broader economy, as we'll cover later this week, it's been, policies like tariffs that generate market instability and risk that is unappealing, in fact, repelling to a lot of serious participants in the economy. And meanwhile, by the way, it is sort of interesting that gold is on a tear. Gold has surpassed, I believe, $4,000 an ounce at one point, and is up like 60% for the year. Part of the reason gold is soaring, and I'm not a gold guy personally, but part of the reason gold is soaring is investors are worried about deficit spending and the dollar's future in market turbulence because of Trump's policies, while he scammed, conned, and grifted people who, quite frankly, don't have the money to be throwing at this sort of stuff. So the numbers are really clear. The mechanism is clear. We predicted it. We said buyer beware. And a lot of people have now lost money they couldn't afford to lose because of this. Is it as simple as greater fools, or do you believe there are financial crimes here? Let me know. On the bonus show today, we'll talk about Black Friday and what it means for the future of the economy. We will talk about Alina Habba getting disqualified. Oh, it is sweet, sweet justice, I have to say. And what if AI is the way to topple two-party power in Congress? It's not my idea, it's someone else's. We will talk about all of those stories and more on today's bonus show, and then I'll be back with a new show tomorrow.